Do the roll call.
Yes.
Cramp.
Here.
Peterson. Canuck.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Bulow.
Here.
Toman.
Here.
Rutez.
Here.
Thank you. And can we have the land acknowledgement, please?
Absolutely. We're gathered here on lands that were originally home to Menominee and Ho-Chunk nations. We honor the Menominee and Ho-Chunk communities and are grateful for their stewardship of the land and waters. We acknowledge these ancestral grounds as sacred and remember the complex history of settler colonialism on these lands and the effects that persist today. We commit to a restorative and healing relationship of the original inhabitants of our community.
Thank you very much. And Lisa Canuck, can we have the mission statement, please?
The mission of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee is to create a more welcoming, connected, and equitable Oshkosh by consciously including the richness and complexities of marginalized voices in its planning and function.
Thank you. And we have a new member, so we would like you to introduce yourself, and then we will all go around and say something about ourselves.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Andy Toman. I've lived in Oshkosh for 15 years and wanted to get involved and help out a little bit. And this is an area that I'm very passionate about. So I was excited several years ago when the city started doing this, and I was excited to be a part of this. And yeah, I don't know what else I should say about myself.
Welcome.
Yeah, very cool.
Lisa, do you want to go?
Sure. I am Lisa Canuck. I've been a member of Oshkosh, or lived in Oshkosh, since about 1991. I am an Oshkosh Pride board member and have been on this committee for a little over a year.
I'm Crystal Miller. I am the HR assistant here at the City of Oshkosh. I've been here for about 2 months. Currently reside in Appleton. And yeah.
Crystal helps us out with the meetings. My name is Michelle Bianchi. I'm the staff liaison from the city for the DEI committee. I have been the staff liaison since day one, so since we started the committee, and I also am the human resources manager for the city.
My name is Chanel. I've been in Oshkosh for going on 8 years now, and I just want to give back to my community the best I can, so I felt like this was the first step.
And I'm the other Crystal Miller. I've lived in Oshkosh for 17 years, and I've been on the committee for about 6 months, I think. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to be part of a group that is talking about really important issues in our community.
I'm Amanda Cram. I've been a member for a year and a little bit. I'm a mom of 2. I'm part of the queer community, and I want to make Oshkosh a better place to live. It's already a wonderful place to live, but I want to make it a better place for everyone to live here.
I am Carl Bulow. I'm the City Council liaison for the DEI committee. I'm also on the MPO policy board and plan commission. Been here in Oshkosh 17 years, just like the other Crystal Miller. And work at the Grand Oshkosh and do a lot of work with a lot of nonprofits in town. And the reason why I serve on council is to make sure that when we're making decisions that the voices and concerns of all the people in our community are taken into account.
Okay. So now we need to approve the minutes from the July 28th meeting. Are there any comments, or does anyone have anything to say about the minutes? Because it was super exciting. Anyone? No? Okay, can we call the roll, please? Or motion to approve.
Cramp.
Well, hold on, we need a motion.
No, I motion to approve.
Okay.
Second. I'm sorry, can someone, you second?
Oh, I thought you were saying that you said.
No, I can't.
I wondered. I will second. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And now let's call the roll.
Cramp.
Aye.
Canuck.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Bulow.
Present.
Toman. Rutez.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, one present.
Do we have any citizen statements or public comment?
We do not have anyone registered today for either statement or comment.
Okay, so we can move right on to our presentation from the Winnebago Area Literacy Council.
Oh, great, yes.
Well, thank you to the City DEI Committee for inviting me, and especially Carl, who particularly reached out and invited me. And I believe the Winnebago Area Literacy Council has presented at this committee before, but I'm the new executive director with the council, so I'm happy to share some of the new informations that we have. So before I talk a little bit about the Literacy Council, a little bit about myself. I'm a first generation immigrant from Myanmar, or also sometimes known as Burma. And I also learned English as a second language. I've been in the US for about 13 years now. And I first moved to New York City and lived there for about 6.5 years, and then moved all over the US, and now ended up in Oshkosh for about 2 years. And I have a PhD in cultural and linguistic anthropology. That was my training, and I did my field work with the politically induced migrants in Burma, Thailand, northern Thailand border. That was my work before, former researcher. And also, after I moved to Oshkosh, I first got in touch with the Winnebago Area Literacy Council, and I volunteered as a tutor, and then also joined their board and served on the board for about 8 months before becoming transitioning into the executive director. And I have published several articles on whiteness, coloniality, and gender and feminism, and especially in the Global South. So that's just a little bit about myself. And what do you all already know about Winnebago Area Literacy Council? I don't know if I could ask questions to the committee, but I'm used to
Turnabout's fair play.
I'm used to teaching college classes, so yes.
They had an amazing intern this summer.
Right.
My kid.
Yes, Isaac is amazing. Yes, any other maybe points that people might want?
Tutoring, I know that you guys do tutoring and like English language learner things.
Yes,
The end of my knowledge.
we do things, yes. Yeah, tutoring, no, you're all on point, right? So we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization actively serving in Oshkosh since 1989. So last year was our 35-year anniversary, and we develop and provide free learner center adult literacy services. And English as a second language service is the primary service that we provide, but we also do other adult literacy services. So our mission and vision, our board just recently had strategic planning in May this year. So this is a new mission and vision that our board is working on. And so our mission is to strengthen communities by eliminating literacy barriers through learner center programs, advocacy, and career development support. So advocacy is one of the key areas that the board added to our mission. So we want to be doing more of the advocacy in the community for the populations that we serve. And then our vision is through programming, community outreach, and partnerships that we ensure every person has the literacy skills needed to thrive. That includes language literacy, that includes financial literacy, digital literacy, social media literacy, all kinds of literacy. So that's hopefully where we'll be working on those things. And our values, I'm not gonna read all of the details, but these are also news that we came out with from our strategic planning session. Is respect, collaboration, resilience, equal access, and learning. So both the staff and board are striving to work on these. And who do we serve? We right now, primarily 100% of our populations are immigrants and refugees. And we also want to serve any adults in the community that needs assistance with literacy skills. So like I said, we are trying to develop programming on financial literacy and digital literacy. Those are the two additional services that we are trying to develop. And later in this year and maybe next year, we are working with the Community First Credit Union in town to develop a financial literacy program, because that's the skill that every adult need, including the immigrants and newcomer populations. And who is a refugee, right? Because I like to include that in my slides, because sometimes people are always confused, like what's refugee and what's immigrant and what's asylum seeker and all that, right? According to the UNHCR, a refugee is someone who has fled their home due to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. So in the US right now, we have about 37 million people who are classified as refugees, and that do not necessarily include asylum seekers. So asylum seekers are the ones who may have come to the US with various different visa statuses, but then many things happen in their home countries and they had to file for asylum after arriving in the country here. So not even including that number. And this pie chart I have here is the countries of origin of our learner population. So right now we have the largest from Democratic Republic of Congo, followed by Afghanistan, and then we have Nicaragua and Mexico and South Sudan as the third largest learner population that we serve in Oshkosh. And we have a 3 different sites. We have a learning center that is right downtown in Oshkosh, but we used to be in the library and then we needed additional space, so we moved out last year to a new location in the US Bank building in downtown in the 2nd floor. So that's where we have our primary classes. And then this past October, we also started a new partnership with AMCO Oshkosh North, where we provide 77 employees at AMCO Oshkosh North. We provide 2 on-site English classes for their employees, and AMCO pay their employees to attend those classes, and it's largely Spanish-speaking population, but that program just recently won last week the outstanding achievement of the workforce literacy at the Wisconsin Literacy statewide. And then the third location we have is, thank you, Kyle.
I think you went so fast past that. That's a big deal in this community. You know, I know, obviously, with the refugee population, so much of it is how do we get employed and employability, and you guys doing the work in AMCOR in that partnership. I just wanted you to not go too fast because that is so cool.
No, that is true. And it's also particularly the AMCO Oshkosh North plant and their HR team willing to work with us, and not every employer is like that. They're not willing to pay their employees to sit in a class for 2 hours every week. And then the other site that we also provide is we do the special program on women and children. That is at the St. Andrew's Church here in Oshkosh, and that's only for women, and they can bring their children, and we provide a free childcare so that the mothers could be in class, and our volunteers are the ones that provide childcare. Oh yeah, here, all of that. Right, so we have English language classes, like I said, across all those 3 sites, and then we have one-on-one tutoring, and then we have women and children program, and then just now, Kyle and I came over from the Webb Phillips Middle School here in Oshkosh. We just celebrated the end of the summer program called New Voices and New Faces. So that's the summer program for high schooler and middle schooler with refugee backgrounds that incorporate arts into their summer activities, and we collaborate with the UWO Arts Corps program. They have interns who are training to be teachers, and they come in and they spend the whole month working with the students and do the art integration. And then we also have a Road to Work program. This one is not a class, so this is kind of like one-on-one job readiness for newcomers. So we help them prepare resume or mock interview, any kind of things that you might need to know, like what is the U.S. workplace culture, right? It's very different. Like for example, we talk about how to, request a time off, or like how to, talk to the boss and etc. And then one of the new programming that we started doing this year in February is immigration learning circles, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And that is a kind of like public-oriented monthly public lectures. We invite different experts and scholars and speakers on different immigration-related topics around the impacting our community and also more broadly. And it's open to public, and then people come and share their knowledge and learn more. And our impact, so this is from 2024 impact. This is when we launched those 2 new worksite English classes at AMCO, and we had average about 150 learners each week we serve. And then we have all across those 3 sites I mentioned, we have 10 English language learning communities meeting on weekly basis. And we, with the Road to Work program that I mentioned, that is funded by the Oshkosh Area United Way, we serve about 50 to 60 people get a job. And we also track those information to see how many stay on the job for 180 days, 90 days, etc. And last year we also enrolled over 100 new learners. And we are seeing a decrease in new learners this year with the stop work refugee resettlement order from the administration. And our finances, this is just quickly, right? This year, our operating budget is about 503K, and you can see the most we spend is payroll. And as usual with a lot of the nonprofits, right? Because we have teachers, and we have 7 teachers, and all of our teachers are paid. So many people think that, oh, everybody's volunteer ran, right? Like our one-on-one tutoring pays are all ran by volunteers tutors, if you're interested in tutoring, right? But teachers, we do pay them, and we also try to provide professional development opportunities for our teachers so that they actually know how to teach English, not just teach English, but more with cultural sensitivity and humility, because 100% of our learners are Black and brown. And challenges, the challenges that we face, our learners face, and our staff face, and also our teachers and our volunteers face in Oshkosh, specifically, is the lack of awareness about the local newcomer populations. Every time we talk about, we table, and we talk about Oshkosh is a refugee resettlement city, and actually about 60% of the refugee resettlement in the Fox Valley area is in Oshkosh. But it seems to be that a lot of the Oshkosh residents do not know. They always know, what is a refugee resettlement city? So that's the biggest challenge we face, because they don't know, then they're like, why are you teaching English, and why do we need to support the work that you do, right? So it then opened up a can of worms. And then also the official narratives that invisibilize the city's newcomers and their contributions. So here, right, when we look at the official narrative, I'm grateful that there is a DEI committee that exists in this city, right? But when we look at how we want to portray Oshkosh as a city for, new people to move in, like young professionals or things like that, we are not highlighting the biggest workforce. I don't also want to just focus on the workforce that immigrants provide, because immigrants are more than just work labor, right? But that part I feel like is invisible, like in any kind of official presentations that I attend to, and is something that I think is a challenge that we face. And of course, more logistically, the challenge that we face for our learners is the transportation. Many of our learners do not drive or come from the countries where they didn't, like there's not like a big car culture like in the US. So we also trying to pay them with tutors to learn how to drive and get driver license and things like that. But many of them stay to take the city bus. And we also trying to offer classes that do not interfere with the city bus schedule, because we have to keep that in mind. And like even when we start the class and when we end the class, we have to work with the city bus schedule, and that has also been a challenge for some of our learners. So many of the volunteers sometimes pick them up, and it's also a huge burden on the volunteers, because we are requiring them to tutor English, not necessarily provide transportation, right? And then the housing and childcare need is another thing, especially for our women learners, mothers who have children. If you have children, we try our best with our women and children program, but that's also only two days a week. So I mean, the rest of the time, what do you do with the children? Right? I don't know. Yeah. And another thing is also, this is more of a broader kind of systemic challenges that we face, is education might not be considered a basic needs, right? When we come to donors or supporters or funder, right, we're not basic need. Learning a literacy skill, people kind of think of it as you can get a job and then that's it, right? Like you need to maybe have a food, shelter, and housing, and like other things are basic need. But I would say that literacy is also a basic need. Language is a human right. Like I'm speaking English as a second language. Without being able to speak English right now with all of you, I cannot advocate for myself. I cannot advocate for my learners. So it is a human right, and I think there is also the lack of understanding about that, and that is also the challenge. And then of course, systemic oppression and racism is a biggest challenge. Many of our learners have come. We've been able to find jobs for them, and they come back. They have racism in the jobs that they work at, or Islamophobia, that they have to quit. So then, right when we are having these narratives about immigrants or anti-immigration, they are not, getting jobs or whatever. Like, I mean, what kind of atmosphere are we also creating for these immigrants to be able to work and not just survive but thrive, right? So that's another thing. And which labor capitalism? I like to put that in here, and that is also the biggest challenge, right? Because sometimes we stop seeing some of our learners and they disappear, and we're like, oh, what happened to them? They stop coming. It's because our classes are open and free. We don't really require them to give attendance or anything like that. We're trying to track, but if something happens, like that's they're all adults, and biggest challenge is also when people started getting jobs. There are families that we work with that have to work 3 jobs to survive. They're high school students, they're high school children, they have to also work. So when you are working, you cannot come to class. Even if you're trying to come to class, you have the transportation barriers, and then you are tired to be paying attention to what the teacher is talking about. So I think that capitalism as a whole is a barrier and challenge to many of our learners. The fact that they have to get very low paid jobs and start from there, that prevents, so that they kind of stay in this hamster wheel. So these are some of the comments that I personally have heard when it comes to talk about the learners population that we serve, and in Oshkosh. These are the comments that I've heard in Oshkosh, right? Oh, they're here to stress the system more. I don't know what the system does, right? We are stressing, or like if we are supporting immigrants, how are we going to support the citizens who already need help, right? So these are the kind of comments and questions that I have personally heard in Oshkosh. So my question is then, right, what can the city and also the DEI committee do about that, right? So this is not the problem that only the Winnebago Area Literacy Council faces. Is these other organizations or other collectives that are working on this with these population or working on similar issues, they also face these problem or issues. So some of my answers to that question that I raised for myself, right? I have answered to my own questions, but I also implore the city DEI, the city council, and also the city DEI committee to kind of think about that, right? So for me, the answer is more educational opportunities for residents about the fact that Oshkosh is a refugee resettlement city, and what does it mean to the city and the people who've been here for a long time, right? So one of the ways that we have been starting to do that is those monthly immigration learning circles that I mentioned. So here are some of the flyers from the past immigration learning circles that we've done. We had one on refugee living, oral literacy in Mount Pedagogy with Dr. Chon and Chua from the UWO. And we have one on the history of the US-Mexico border, specifically with Dr. Juan Garcia Uyavides. And then we have one on settler colonialism with Dr. Margaret Hiddle from UWO2, right? Kind of immigration and how we also impact the settler colonialism that already in place in Oshkosh and the US as a whole. And then we just had one with me and one of our learners, Nin from Myanmar, who just resettled in February of this year in Oshkosh with her family. We talked a little bit about her personal journey of arriving in Oshkosh and also what is happening in Myanmar. And when I prepared and sent these slides to Crystal, I didn't have the flyer for our September one. So our September, we are having Dr. Sergio Gonzalez from Marquette University, and he will be talking about the farm or migrant worker, Mexican specifically migrant worker, and dairy farm in Wisconsin specifically. So if you are interested, please check it out on our website and socials, and I invite all of you to attend. Another answer is the kind of like possible maybe solution that I put in here is strategic inclusion of and considerations of infrastructure implementation for issues impacting newcomers, right? I don't know, that could look like many different things. That could look like even extending the bus hours or bus route, right? Where are our newcomers populations located in the city, and kind of being aware of that, so that those could be very infrastructural changes and consideration. This is just one example, right? Increased bus route hours or language access for essential knowledge. I know that also our current administration has established an official language policy for the US. Now, technically, you're not required to provide a translators or interpreter when you go to hospital or court or legal cases, but I would again also encourage for the city to remain those essential language services for newcomer population. There are at least 7 working languages that we work with in our literacy council, so having those are also very important, right? Even though people are learning English, it's always good to have information in your mother tongue. And then financial and communal support for local organizations like us, working with or working for a marginalized population is also very helpful, right? Sometimes we just need basic need like diapers or things like that, right? Like very, like could be trivial, and Carla and Jennifer just provided food for our New Voices, New Faces students. So like it could be a very small thing, but that's also very helpful. And collaboration across the organization, because the root cause of the struggle is systemic and interconnected, right? Because I don't believe in having to fight for resources. I don't believe in that. So if there are ways that we could collaborate and work with across different organizations, I think there are ways that like we would be interested in exploring and working together. And yes, so thank you for your interest and support and having me over. And here you can scan the QR code for our newsletter that you can keep in touch. Every 3rd week of the month, we send out our newsletter kind of recapping and all the updates and events and everything. And I also forgot to mention in our upcoming events, is next 2 weeks, we are also hosting Know Your Rights Sim Making Workshop at the Garama Crips in collaboration with the Garama Crips. So it is a ticketed event, but we're providing all the supplies, and we'll have a facilitator, and it will be a fun craft night. So yes, yeah.
Well, I for one can give you a quick testimonial on the Immigration Circle events. Highly recommend. They're free. They're at the U.S. Bank building on the 2nd floor. Super enlightening to go to and hear about people's experiences that are different than yours. And I think there's always value in that. I've made a couple friends there, like, talking to different people that otherwise I would have never met. One of the things, and I didn't give you a heads up that I'm going to ask this, so I apologize, and it's not really a WALC thing, but it's something that I learned way too late in my life that I think a lot of people don't understand, and that is when a refugee or an immigrant comes here, many times they don't choose Oshkosh. We're a resettlement location. A lot of times they're in a resettlement camp, and they can be sent many different ways, right? Like, you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, because I know some people were thinking they could go to Australia or Canada, and they end up in Oshkosh, and then if they're treated unhospitality here, that's not their fault. That's our, So, you want to talk a little bit about some of the refugees stories that you've heard?
Yeah. Like Carl said, the newcomers, they don't get to pick which city they get resettled. So U.S., from my understanding, the USCIS, U.S. Custom and Immigration, whatever the long form, they contract with multiple different organizations and agency for refugee resettlement. And in our region is War Relief. In the Northeast Wisconsin area, War Relief kind of handle that. And in Texas is a different, etc. And for a family, they will always ask if they know somebody, or if they have relatives in any parts of U.S. And sometimes people say, friends or whatever, and they will try, those agencies will try to best resettle you in those states. But Nin, right, the one we just co-presented in the Immigration Learning Circle, and her family, for example, do not know anybody or has any relative. And so if you don't have that, and then they just kind of assign you. And each refugee resettlement agency also has a quota for each state. So they are kind of like a brokers in between the government and then the state government. So they will work to find out what is the quota that this particular state has for the refugee resettlement. So each state has their own policy in terms of resettling refugees. So based on that number, and then is different for different populations and countries too. So they may have, let's say, I don't know, for Myanmar, they want 70 or whatever, right? So based on that, then they work out what would be the best for them to resettle. So it's really, yes, I know.
And so a lot of our neighbors didn't choose to be here, so treating them like they're a drain on our system is just abhorrent anyway. And the other thing that really blew my mind, and I guess it should know, but some things that I just don't consciously think about sometimes, is a lot of our new neighbors, our newcomers, were nurses and business people, and now they're here, and because they can't speak English, they're treated like general labor.
Yes.
And in a time when we are desperately looking for more nurses, more teachers, more everything, We are not allowing our newcomers to succeed in the areas where they are experts.
Yeah, that's all because of the language as a barrier, right? Because I mean, you have all the skills and knowledge, but you don't know how to communicate that. Then people kind of, I talk about that with Tony on his podcast that it is a performance versus competent issue. Like for example, as somebody who has a doctorate in linguistics, I know how English languages and all the morphology and syntax, and diachronics work, but I still have my accent. But does that mean that I'm stupid, right? So like there is that disconnect that a lot of the maybe native English speaker, if they hear an accent, they might automatically assume, oh, let's talk to them like a kid. Let's talk loud. Let's talk slow. So we're trying so hard to educate them among our volunteers and among our teachers, not to treat them like children, not to treat them like stupid, right? It's the language ideologies that we have.
And that podcast she just name dropped is Dr. Tony Palmieri from UW Oshkosh. He has amazing interviews on his podcast, so I highly recommend checking out the one with you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Name drop, yes.
Yeah, if you're just gonna say Tony, like you just.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
And I know your website is really, really little on the bottom,
yes.
but for people who might be watching this who want to help, obviously, I think you could use funds, you could probably use volunteers. So should people go to your website, or is there any other mechanisms to help, right?
Yes. Yeah, so the website is in there, www.winlit.org. So that's the initial letters of our organization, Winnebago Area Literacy Council. But you can also scan for newsletter, and once you join for the sign up for the newsletter, in there are ways that we're always looking for volunteer tutoring, volunteers for other things if you don't like teaching. We also have volunteers for other things like classroom assistant, like driving, childcare, etc. And there are ways to get involved, and yes. So I will kind of start from the newsletter, because then you get to kind of see what all of the stuff that is going on, and then you can also get the website and things like that from there. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Did you say there were 7 languages?
Yeah.
Yes, so 7 languages, working languages right now that we trying to at least have translations. We're trying our best. Yeah, so it would be Swahili and Arabic, Spanish, Hmong, Burmese, Cayenne, and Kinyarwanda.
Okay.
Yeah, those are.
And with that, that's a small portion of what the school district tells us are the native language of our students, which I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think they said there's 55 to 60 different languages that are native languages for our students. So there's a lot out there.
Yes, there is a lot. Yes. Yeah. That's also another area that we always need support for, because trying to find translators and interpreters. So we try to collaborate with the school district in that, because they have interpreter on staff. So when we have an event that we need translators and interpreter for, we're just trying to reach out to the school district. But that's also another resources that the city could have.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was fascinating, and I have my undergraduate degree is in cultural anthropology, so I was very excited to see that.
Yes, fellow anthropologist.
Yeah. Yep. Yes,
Awesome.
it's my favorite. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, if there's anything you want to forward over to us that we can share on our DEI Facebook, we love to repost the things that you've already posted. Make sure just one more outlet to get it out to the community.
Especially when you show the translators film again.
Oh yes.
In
yes, that's true. Yeah. Couldn't fit in everything that we do in 20 minutes, but yes, I will send it. Should I send it to Crystal?
Yep, send it to Crystal.
Okay.
This Crystal. M-I-L-S.
We all need to change our names still.
I will. Yeah, that would be nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So you can stay and hang out, or you can head out. Up to you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably head out. But thank you again so much
of
for
course.
having me, and Yeah, can't wait to see what the DEI committee will do. Yes.
Thank you, Irma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have our committee member roundtable to learn about things in the area. So I have a couple of things. So the last week of September is Banned Books Week. So it's an international observance about reading banned books, learning about book banning, seeing if there's books in your community that people are talking about perhaps banning, going to a library. Libraries always have displays of banned books around September. So go check out a banned book, read stuff people don't want you to read.
Yes, our library, and we've had presentations from them in the past too, and yeah, they are very proud of the availability of books that have been banned in different situations,
banned and
you know,
challenged.
they like to always say it's not necessarily the government that bans books, but different organizations, whether you know, in history have, and they're very proud of their offering. So definitely visit the Oshkosh Library and see what they have to offer in this arena.
Because intellectual freedom is very, very important.
Yep.
Also, the last week of September is Bisexual Awareness Week, and apparently September in general is Bisexual Awareness Month. So you're welcome. Be aware of me. And well, then
You exist.
on Bisexual Visibility Day, I'm like, this is the one day a year you get to perceive me, and then I go back to being imperceptible. So there's also what else was there?
The Hmong.
The Hmong celebration.
Oh yes, the Hmong celebration this coming weekend on the 30th and the 31st at the
Winnebago County Community Park.
the Winnebago County Community Park, and it's going to be so fun. There's going to be music and that cool sport, topspin, that I want to watch, and
Volleyball, and
food,
soccer,
so
and
much
food.
If you want to know more, watch our presentation from last month.
Yep. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait. I hope I see all of you there. Find me. That's all that I have for that. Does anyone else have any other fun stuff?
Mid-September to mid-October is Hispanic Heritage Month. So I figure we'll talk probably more about that at our meeting in September as well. But just wanted to put that out there.
Wonderful. And then going back to you too now.
Yeah.
Anything for council?
Looking at the council, I don't see a whole lot. However, and Jim Collins will slap me if he hears this, one of the things that I've been mulling around is how can we make our busing more accessible, especially for our students who are going through different needs of which ID they need to get on the bus and replacement IDs. So I want to start the process of looking at what if we just did free busing and what that would look like. Again, Jim, don't hit me yet. I want to start that process of starting to figure out like what that would look like and what that could be and what kind of sponsorships and government grants might be out there for it.
And of course, it is budget season. If anyone is interested, the city and council have budget meetings. Actually, I'm not quite sure when the next budget meeting is, but I know it's coming up soon.
And for everybody who says we just spend money willy-nilly, please tune in, email us, let us know what you want us to cut then, you know, which you know, if you...
Which services you
yeah,
don't
which
want
services you no longer want.
We don't need garbage
no,
pickup,
yeah,
do
no
we? No,
garbage.
just kidding. Yes, we need garbage pickup.
But in all honesty, like, it is a very open and honest conversation about our budget. It is extremely public document, so all 7 counselors will be happy to hear from you, especially with priorities that you have.
Any future agenda items that you want to
I
bring
have
up?
one more for
Oh,
upcoming
yes.
events.
Yes.
Just to save the date, really, October 26th, there is going to be, Oshkosh Pride is having their first drag bingo event at the Gibson at noon. Great prizes, drag show.
Yeah, I've
bingo.
seen some of the prizes. They're going to be amazing.
Yes.
Like, you want to go there.
There's
You
some
wanna-
good ones coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah, should be a lot of fun. So more of a save the date. I will bring it up again in our next meeting.
Yeah, I need to get to this. Anything else? Anything in the future? You can always send Crystal and Michelle your future agenda items if you have them.
Yep, I mean, certainly if anyone has ideas, we can certainly speak of them now. But again, there's always the opportunity to send them to myself and normally the chair as well.
Oh yeah, send me things too.
Just volunteering you.
Yeah, please do.
If you have any specific agenda items that you'd like to propose for the future.
Wonderful. And with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everyone.